Hello everybody. Welcome to today's video on what is a sound bath meditation. In today's talk, I'm going to discuss what a sound bath is, how to utilize sound as an object of meditation, as well as touch upon what some spiritual traditions say a sound bath can do for us and its benefits, as well as talk about the scientific benefits and what some of the research is saying sound baths can do. But before I get into that, for those of you who might not know who I am, my name is Profeta. I'm a meditation teacher and a mindfulness instructor who's been passionately studying the art of meditation now for over 20 years in monasteries of the United States as well as Nepal and India. And it's become my great passion to share some of the knowledge that I've gained in my years of study to help you maybe navigate the stressful world, as well as offer you a tool and a method that can really help guide you along this path of self-discovery, health, and healing. And while I've now been teaching meditation for many years, this isn't something that I set out with the intention to do. I started my meditation practice for my own personal reason, but I always knew I wanted to help people in their journey towards self-healing. So I entered medical school in New York City thinking I was going to become a doctor, but I'm sure you can look at me now and tell my life took a lot more of a holistic sort of turn. But I'm passionate about, whenever I talk about meditation and spiritual topics, to always complement the spirituality with the scientific background and basis, because I'm not one of those people who believe spirituality and science are at odds with one another. I don't believe it's spirituality versus science, or you have to believe one over the other. I actually believe they firmly complement one another and support each other well if you can get past the specialized language and terms that both of those two areas discuss. Because science describes the world around us through its own specialized language, spirituality describes the world around us through its specialized language. But if you get past the labels, you'll see that they're both talking about this universe and this world in pretty much the exact same way. Now, sound bath meditations have sort of become very popular ways to meditate, at least here in the United States and some other areas of the world. And in fact, if you're from New York or Los Angeles, you probably have been to a sound bath meditation before, because they've had them in Madison Square Garden, Lincoln Center. They've had them in art museums of both of those cities and some other big metropolitan cities around the United States. However, if you're from some other areas, you might not, or you might have just heard about a sound bath but aren't too familiar with what it is. Even though between 2019 to 2020 there was a statistic released that internet searches for sound baths were up 315%. They actually, in that article, they actually said that sound bath meditations were going to be one of the top trends of 2020. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about what they are and how to utilize sound for those of you that might not be familiar with it. But let me begin with meditation. When it comes to meditation, there are thousands of ways to meditate. However, there are two things that are foundational. One is that you want to find a position for the body that is comfortable and relaxed. You do not need to be sitting cross-legged or force yourself into some uncomfortable posture in order to meditate. Those of us in the United States, this is not a comfortable position for most of us. And if you were to try to force yourself into this position, you're just going to fight with aches and pains in your neck or your back or your knees, and you'll never get into a meditative state. You'll just be fighting with those discomforts and battling with the mind. So you can sit in a chair. At sound bath meditations, many people choose to lay down the whole time. You're welcome to do that. So you want to find a position for your body that's comfortable and also relaxed. But at the same time, your consciousness is trying to be very aware, alert, or attentive to something. Now, that something is often referred to as the object of meditation. And as I said, there are many ways to meditate. There are thousands, and there are many different objects that one can utilize to focus their attention upon. Some people use mantras, a word or a couple of words or a sentence or syllables that they chant or silently think to themselves over and over again. Some use the sensations of the body breathing, the inhalation and the exhalation. Some use just sensations of the body itself. Some use awareness itself as an object of meditation. Some use walking, some use eating, and some use visualization techniques. So when I tell you that there are thousands of ways to meditate and thousands of objects of meditation, there really are. In fact, you can utilize any object to pay attention to. In a sound meditation, the object of meditation, I'm sure you can guess, is going to be sound. And so what you do in a sound bath is you put all your awareness and attention on the sounds. Now, what I typically use in my sound bath meditations is what are known as singing bowls. So you see before me crystal singing bowls and Himalayan singing bowls and even some chimes. And those tend to be the instruments that I typically just utilize. But a sound bath can be composed of anything. Some people use didgeridoos, harmoniums, harps, xylophones, I've seen violins, some people use rattles or drums. And so you can utilize any instrument or any tool for a sound bath meditation, but what you're trying to do is put all your awareness and attention upon the sounds. And whenever the mind wanders, don't worry, the mind has been conditioned and created to think. So it might be 2 seconds or it might be 2 minutes, but the mind will begin to wander. It goes to thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future, or gets distracted by a sound it hears outside or anything else. Whenever you notice that the mind wanders, your purpose is to just bring yourself gently and lovingly back to observing the sounds again. Now, a sound meditation is really composed of 2 things. Focused awareness meditation, so you're putting all your awareness and attention on the sounds, you're focusing your awareness upon the sounds, utilizing that as the object of meditation. When distractions arise, you return again. But there's a second component of the sound bath meditation, and that is that it's also a deep listening exercise. So there might be a moment where somebody strikes, or I strike the bowl, or somebody plays an instrument, and then lets the sounds just fade into silence. In fact, in a sound meditation, it shouldn't be sounds throughout the entire time. There should be moments of sounds and silence, just as there is in normal music, where they have those moments of rests that are, if any of you are familiar with the music notation, there are rests where a pause takes place within the melodies or within the song. And so if someone is playing an instrument and lets it fade into silence, you're still trying to be very aware, alert, and attentive to the sound. Follow it as it fades out into the silence, or what I like to say is follow it and let it carry you into your inner silence. And then when the bowls start up again or the sounds start up again, just come right back to observing the sounds. Now, many meditators often find sound meditations a little bit, shall I say, easier for 2 main reasons. And not just beginning meditators, but even long-term meditators often find sound meditations a little bit easier to work with. And that is because, 1, the object of meditation, these sounds, are external. It's not something as subtle as sort of silently sitting and observing the breath. And for many people, these sounds are quite soothing, they're quite calming, they're quite relaxing. It's not a sound like if I had a chalkboard in here and dragged my nails across a chalkboard. Some of you might actually cringe, or some of you might just, by me mentioning that sound and listening to this video and hearing the word drag my nails across the chalkboard, might have actually cringed just by paying attention to the video. But the bowls typically do not give people that sort of reaction. And the mind is sort of like, oh, this is pleasant, this is calming, this is nice, I could pay attention to these sounds. And for that reason, the mind is sort of paying attention a little bit better. It's a pleasing object of meditation. And for many people, it's also this sort of like idea that the mind is listening to a song. Now, some people afterwards who attend my sound baths will ask, are you playing songs, or did you learn a healing song or something like that? I did not. I always express that I was taught by Tibetan monks and nuns to play the Himalayan bowls intuitively. So when I perform, I'm actually playing based off of my intuition. What I feel the room is needing, the group is needing, or what energies and sounds seem to be lingering or getting absorbed and so on. But because there's only a certain number of bowls, they might sound like there's a pattern or a repetition or a melody at times, but I'm not playing any sort of song. And I would recommend anyone who does perform sound baths to not play songs, because if you were to perform a song, you could be actually leading someone into thoughts and memories. Like if the song that you begin to play actually is associated with some important thing for them, like let's say you were to play a song and it was like their wedding song, it's just going to bring them back to a time and create a busier mind filled with memories. You don't want to do that. You want to just have the sounds there as just a focal point for them to sort of transcend thought and be led into their inner self. But the mind sort of looks at it like it's listening to a song. And because of that, it's sort of entertained by a sound bath. And many people afterwards will say, I didn't seem to have as many thoughts. The sounds seem to cut through my mental chatter. And the reason being is the mind is just paying attention to the object of meditation a little bit better because it's sort of entertained by the sound, and so it tends to not be wandering as much. But the other thing that many people find easier about a sound meditation is the returning back to the object of meditation. Because in a sound bath, at least in my sound baths, the bowls are typically played throughout the entire time. And so every time the bowl is struck or played, it's like a little chime or a little reminder or a sound saying to you, hey, where are you? Are you paying attention to me? If not, be here now, come back home, be here in this present moment and focus your awareness upon me. So rather than it be minutes of wandering, because if any of you ever tried breath awareness, where you sit down in a formal silent sit and you practice by putting all your awareness and attention on the breathing, you might have noticed that it was 2 seconds or 2 minutes, but the mind went off. It wandered. It began to think about something or get distracted by something. And if you've practiced it, you might have realized that, oh, hey, I'm off in thought, but it was minutes later after you began to wander that you actually realized that. Well, rather than it be minutes of wandering, in sound meditations, many people find that the wandering is cut down to seconds. They very easily realize, oh, wait, let me go back to observing the sounds again. But now there is a whole added component with the sound bath meditation that you don't truly get in a formal sit. And that is that we're dealing here with something known as energy. Now, most specifically, sound wave energy. And when I strike the bowl, a form of an energy known as a sound wave begins to spread throughout the room. Now, here in Florida at sea level, sound travels through the air at 770 miles an hour. So that means when I strike the bowl or play the bowls, sound waves begin to spread throughout the room at that speed of 770 miles an hour. Now I'm in a room about maybe 30 feet by 60 or 70 feet. And if you could think about an energy moving in the space that quickly, when I strike the bowl, the sound waves move so fast that they hit that wall and they hit the far wall, they hit the wall behind the camera, they hit this wall. Now when sound waves move and spread, when they hit a barrier, they can do one of two things. They can either pass through that barrier or bounce back. The bouncing back of a sound wave is known as reverberation. So in a room like this, the more bowls I play, all this energy begins to bounce and hit the barriers and bounce back and forth and reverberate in this room, and then it hits the floor, the ceiling, and all of this energy that's bouncing back and forth throughout this room, if there were attendees at the sound bath, it would be passing over and around their body. And that is why a sound meditation has been given a cute name today of sound bath. Because anybody that attends is literally bathing in the sound wave energy. Now, I have seen people who say that, or announce that they're performing a sound bath in a park or on a lawn or something like that. I would actually tell you that that is not a sound bath. That is a sound meditation. To truly have a sound bath, you need the reverberation of the sound waves to be passing over and around their body. Out in a park or somewhere else, it passes, but then all the sound waves just go out and into the atmosphere. There's nothing that's bouncing them back on and around and throughout the person's body. So I would say you actually are losing the bath experience outside, but it doesn't mean it's not a good way to meditate. It's not a good way to, focus your mind or anything like that. But that's just a little bit of my perspective on that whole situation. Now, as they pass over and around your body, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why does someone want to go and bathe in sound wave energy? Well, the thing is, I hope that you're well aware that you are more than your body. You're not just this physical nature. Now, many spiritual traditions have called our true self, our inner self, the part of us that is timeless, eternal, immortal, if you will, beyond our physical flesh and blood nature. They've called it many things. Some label it a soul, an Atman, God, goddess, universe, consciousness, awareness, Buddha nature. Well, science also confirms that you are timeless, you are eternal, immortal, because they label you in something, in their terminology, known as something called energy. In fact, if you've heard of the man Nikola Tesla, he has said, if you want to understand this universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. He was a genius of a man, a contemporary of Thomas Edison, if you're not familiar with him. Actually worked with Edison for a while, but a great inventor, mechanical engineer, physicist, mathematician. And I expand a little bit on Tesla's statement by saying, if you also want to understand yourself, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because if you didn't know Tesla, I'm sure everyone has heard of the name Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein said all life is vibration. He also said that this entire world of form that we see around us, the rocks, the trees, the sun, the moon, the stars, and our physical flesh and blood body, all the stuff that we call matter is not true. It's not true reality. The truth of reality, Albert Einstein said, is all matter is energy. In fact, his famous E equals mc squared equation actually proves that matter and energy are basically two sides of the same coin. In 1948, Albert Einstein, in a film, said that what we perceive as matter and energy are just manifestations of the very same thing. He said a concept that's totally unfathomable to the average mind. And so the truth is, according to science, that you are timeless, you are eternal, because the number one law of energetics says that energy cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. All it can do is simply transition from one state to another. That means the energy which you are was not created at your birth, it transitioned from somewhere. And when our body gets old and worn out and we have to take off this skin suit, if you will, then the energy that is animating it, that the life force that's in it is not destroyed, it simply transitions somewhere else. And so science, by their very law, actually confirms that you are an eternal being by calling you energy. And why people want to go and bathe in a sound bath is because energy has the ability to affect energy. And now this energetic body, which science says you are, spiritual traditions say has energy centers associated with it. And they term those energy centers chakras, running from the base of the spine to the crown of the head in the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Now, to be honest, there are many different chakra systems out there. However, many people in yoga communities or here in the United States have heard of the 7 chakras running from the base of the spine to the crown of the head in the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Now, many traditions say that that energetic body and those centers, they need to tune up every once in a while. They need to be realigned because they become blocked. Energy gets stuck within them. They don't spin at their right vibration or frequency or send out their true resonant rate. And so there's many ways to help realign and reattune your energetic body. Formal yoga does do it. That's why people are getting in these postures and positions, is to help shift energy and bring balance back to the energetic body. Formal meditation does do it. Color therapy can do it because they say the chakras align to colors. Being out in nature, they say, can help to purify and align your energetic body. And many people find being out in nature very healing. But you see, so can sound. The scientist Isaac Newton, he said, you know the 7 frequencies of the rainbow, those 7 frequencies of color? Well, they directly correlate to the 7 frequencies of the 7 notes of a musical scale. He said the 7 frequencies of a rainbow and the 7 notes of a musical scale were identical, that they're the same frequency. Now, if you do fact check that, there are some scholars who say his math was a little bit off. They say there should be a sharp at the heart level and a flat, I believe, at one of the other energy centers. But they do not deny the fact that frequency of color can and does align to frequencies of notes of music. So music is color, color is sound. In fact, what you're doing is just interpreting the energy, one auditorily, or through your hearing, which is the sound, but the other way you're interpreting that energy is visually through a color. And so it's just perceiving an energy 2 different ways. And so many traditions believe that the energetic body can be healed by the 7 notes of the musical scale. Now, in my sound baths, I do have bowls that are correlating to the 7 notes of the musical scale. So when they're going out, some traditions believe that that is balancing all those 7 energy centers, and maybe pushing out some of the energy that might be blocking those centers and helping to reattune them. While this might sound a little bit new agey, maybe like spiritual hocus pocus mumbo jumbo nonsense to some of you out there, the truth is that doctors and scientists have known for decades that sound waves do have the ability to heal, cure, and correct illness and disease. In fact, every single day around this world, doctors, scientists, dentists, medical students, nurses, medical technicians, they use sound waves to heal, cure, and correct diseases and imbalances within the body. There's a device known as an ultrasound machine. The only reason why they build this device and machines is to generate and send out sound waves. That's what it does, an ultrasound machine. And they're used in hospitals and medical centers and medical schools and other places as well. And what a the ultrasound machine is, this is a paddle. They call it a transducer probe with a wire attached to the computer. And the transducer probe vibrates, sending out what is known as ultrasound sound waves. Now, doctors and scientists can harness these sound waves to heal and cure illnesses and imbalances within the body, because sound waves don't only pass over and around your body. Sound waves pass directly through your body. And so when people are laying in a sound bath meditation, the sound bath, the waves aren't only moving over and around them, they're also moving directly through them, which many traditions say helps to break up energy held in your energetic body. You see, a sound wave, that sound wave is no different than an ultrasound sound wave. In a form of energy, a sound wave is a sound wave. The thing that's different about an ultrasound machine is when it vibrates so fast that the sound it makes we can't hear. It's outside the range of human hearing. Humans have a very small range of hearing, just 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. But the illnesses and diseases and imbalances that can be cured by an ultrasound machine are things such as gallstones or kidney stones. If someone has a stone in their gallbladder, what they do is they take the ultrasound machine, they put it over the person's gallbladder and begin to bombard their gallbladder with high-frequency ultrasound sound waves, because they know sound waves pass through the body. And when they pass through the body, pass through the gallbladder and hit the stone begins to shake up because of the high vibrational rate of the ultrasound machine. Now, they might need to play with the frequency to get it just right. But if they can find the resonant frequency, what begins to happen is the stone begins to shake up so violently and it crumbles. It pulverizes. It breaks apart into sand. The residue of the stone then can be passed through the body without any surgical intervention at all. That's all done through the healing power of sound waves. And so just as a doctor or a scientist says, hey, we need to send these sound waves through you and break up a little stone held in your gallbladder, I want you to really think about what they're saying at the fundamental level. At the fundamental level, a doctor is saying, when we need to send these sound waves through you and break up a stuck energy, break up a stuck piece of matter like a stone that's stuck in your gallbladder, what they're really saying at the fundamental level is Albert Einstein said all matter is energy. So they're really saying is that we need to send these sound waves through you and break up a stuck energy that's held in your gallbladder. That's no different than a spiritual teacher saying we need to send these sound waves through you and break up the energy or an emotion that might be held in your energetic body or somewhere else. You see, Albert Einstein said that what we perceive as matter is matter and energy are manifestations of the very same thing, and what we perceive as dense matter is nothing more than a slowed down vibrational rate of energy. And so a doctor who's using sound waves to break up a gallstone, or a spiritual person who's using a sound wave or an energy healer, as they sometimes call themselves, that is, but I'll get more into that in a moment, who is sending out the sound wave to break up a energy that might be stuck in your energetic body, they're talking about the same thing, just different aspects of yourself. One more physical and one more higher vibrational rate. But when it comes to the healing aspect of a sound meditation, please know that it's not me, it's not the bowls. In fact, I never advertise myself as Anthony Profeta, sound healer or energetic healer or anything like that. I consider myself nothing more than a meditation teacher and a mindfulness instructor. Because the very truth is that each and every one of you out there are your own healers. True healing actually comes from within you. And what it comes from is the power of your mind, belief, and faith. And there's a huge scientific proof of the fact that you are your own healer. Huge scientific proof of the power of mind over matter, power of your thoughts. It's known as the placebo effect. And the placebo is a sugar pill that doctors give to a patient and tell them, listen, there's an experimental drug. It's not released, but go take this for like 5 days or 7 days and come back to us. We know it's really going to work wonders with what you have. We're seeing great evidence with that. And these people that go take placebos, a huge percentage of people sometimes come back to the doctor and have some sort of healing that happens to them. But in some cases, there's a full all-out cure of whatever it was they had. And sometimes it's something as serious as a tumor. People go take a placebo, and again, it's a sugar pill. There's no herbs, no oils, no medicines, no vitamins in it. It's like a doctor gave a person a package of Tic Tacs and says, listen, go take this. This is really going to help your tumor. And in some cases, it does. The tumor is gone. And the only medical explanation for it is, hey, it's the power of the person's mind, belief, and faith in what they're getting from their doctor. They're believing it's going to help them, and it does. And so that just shows how powerful we are in terms of our own healing. And that is the great teaching of every enlightened being and every wisdom figure that has ever walked this earth. If you ever have some time to read the Buddhist text, there are many people who went to him and referred to him as a great physician and referred to his teaching as medicine, because they found a way out of the dissatisfaction of life, the suffering of life, the misery of life, and they found a way into a life of more happiness and peace. So they called what he provided them medicine. But he never took the title really of a healer for himself. But what he always said in numerous ways was, your thoughts create your world. What we think we become, what we think is what we begin to see around us. And those of you that might have heard of Jesus, he was considered by many people a very great healer. And if you go back and read the gospel accounts, there might be over a dozen healings that happen in the presence of Christ. But never once does he ever take any credit for any healing that occurs. If you go back and read the gospel stories, every single time a healing happens in the presence of Jesus, to the person immediately, right after the so-called miracle, he tells them, by your faith, you have been healed. Or he says, as you believe, it has now been done for you. And those very two statements, by your faith, you've been healed, as you believe, it's now been done for you, Christ was telling these people, Jesus said to them, you healed yourself. And so just keep that in the back of your mind if you do attend sound bath meditations, if you ever go to check one out. If you're just there for some deep meditation, believe you'll get it, you will. If you're there for some relaxation, believe you'll get that, you will. But if you got something going on, if you got a part of the body that needs vibrational rate change, if you need a part of the body that needs a little bit more attention, then believe the energy can go there. Believe it can do what it does. And I even say direct it to that part of your body with your intention. And who knows, maybe one of you can actually create a miracle for yourselves. But it's really within your hands. But let me just share one more thing. Some people go to sound bath meditations and they get emotional. They feel the urge to cry. They feel the urge to cough. They get restless. Please know that those are good things. That's signs that something's happening. Those are signs that energy is shifting, that movement's happening, that something's trying to be released. You see, in that example of the kidney stone or gallstone being broken up and being broken into sand, the sand just doesn't evaporate. It needs a means of release from the body. Well, it's the same thing with emotions that might be stuck in our emotional body or our energetic body. As the sound waves move through you and around you and begin to push out or break up the energy that's held within your energetic body, like those stones that are held within your body, well, those energies and emotions, they need a means of release. They also do not evaporate. So sometimes the release can happen through crying. Sometimes the release can happen through coughing. You know, maybe if there was a blockage in an energy center known as the throat area or throat chakra. Well, if those things arise and you feel the urge to cough or cry, don't suppress it. Don't hold it in. Don't say, oh, I don't want to disturb somebody near me, or I don't want to have anybody hear me cry, or I don't want to cough. Because if you're holding in those energies that are trying to be released for your highest good, that's like saying after the gallstone is broken up, just leave the sand there. You know, no, you want to remove that. You want to release that. Well, it's the same thing with getting emotional. If you feel the urge to cry during a meditation or a yoga class or anything else, let it happen. Something is being released. Another thing that can sometimes happen is restlessness. Please know, restlessness is nothing more than an excitation of energy. If you're restless, it just means you have a lot of energy that you need to release. And in sound meditations, as all these energies are being generated in the room, so as all this energy builds up, what begins to happen is all this energy is now in the room, and the body is trying to acclimate to the increased amount of energy that is now being enveloped in. And so what can happen is as the body tries to acclimate and integrate all this new energy, there could be moments of restlessness. Just breathe through it. It will pass. I promise you will not die of restlessness. And really that's all there is to the sound bath, is you're just going to utilize the objects as your focal point, rest in the energy, be open, be receptive, and just allow yourself to be relaxed and calm. There is a lot of research that is happening with sound meditations today, though, from a scientific perspective, because they become very popular. And some of the things that they've been showing now is that they can help with depression, they can help with sadness, they can help with anxiety, with stress. In fact, there was a study, I believe it's the University of Toronto, who did something with sound meditations with the Himalayan bowls, the metal ones, and people who attended meditations with the Himalayan singing bowls, their blood pressure and their heart rate decreased and dropped quicker than people who practiced a formal silent sit. They say it takes about 20 minutes to get, relaxed in a formal meditation practice, but in the singing bowls, people who attended them, their blood pressure and heart rate dropped quicker, which led them into a state of feeling more relaxed and calm. There was also a study with people with fibromyalgia, and people who attended a sound bath meditation, I believe it was 2 one-hour meditations a week, began to report less pain associated with their illness, as well as less anxiety and better sleep. And there seems to be new evidence coming out every day about sound bath meditation. Some people feel a better sense of overall well-being, happier after they leave. And so I truly believe it's because people can really feel the energy and they feel different afterwards. They do feel a little bit of a tune-up and a good, maybe some good vibrations. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video on what is a sound bath meditation. And if you did, please give it a like or a heart or a thumbs up, or subscribe to this channel or follow this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below. If you have any topics that you would like me to discuss or go further into, you can also leave that in the comment section. And if you know anyone that would enjoy this information, then please feel free to share it. And if you haven't experienced a sound bath and would like to experience one in your home, there is a link, and I'll put it in the section below, to a sound bath that I do have here on this YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Hope that each and every one of your days is truly filled with an abundance of love, happiness, and peace.